Hey everybody, it's Christine, and today I have a new project for you using Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L, along with the October kit from the Scrap Room. I am starting things off by using a stencil that I made, and I am using some of the large repositionable adhesive dots to hold my stencil in place, and then I am going to use some of the small and medium adhesive dots that are permanent this time to actually fill in that stencil. So what you see is I have cut out all of the stencil as well as all those butterflies, and I've got the stencil positioned on my base paper, and now I'm using the adhesive dots, and I am going to go back and fill in each of those butterflies and create a really cool background. Now, because I had some small butterflies and I had some big ones, I needed to mix and match. So I needed to have both the medium adhesive dots and the small ones. And so that was helpful to have both on hand. It also, because of the way they're dispensed, I was able to kind of go through it quickly. You can see this is sped up a little bit, but not tremendously. And so you can see how fast I was able to just get the adhesive on there. And then now I'm going to start filling in with the butterflies that I cut out originally. I really loved this pattern paper. It's like dots, and it's got a gradient of color, and it was just a really interesting looking paper. And so I really wanted to use it in a special way. And as I was considering different ideas, I sat down at my computer and started looking at my silhouette files and realized this heart-shaped butterfly explosion would just be perfect. And let me tell you, the end result is just fantastic. I just really love how this turned out. And kind of a different technique, something that you haven't seen me do before. I do use cut files pretty regularly, but to use it as an actual stencil and then go back and fill things in is a totally different approach. So you can see I've got the whole left-hand side of that heart filled in, and now I'm just going to go around and do the same thing on the right. You can do it all at once. I just like to change things up. I get bored if I have to sit there and do the exact same thing over and over. So that's why I did it this way. There was no real rhyme or reason or anything behind it other than just my my attention levels. So you have that. In case you're wondering, why didn't you just fill the whole thing in? That's why. I just can't pay attention that long. So you can see I filled in most of those, and I am using the adhesive dots. Now, you could use a variety of adhesives here, but the reason specifically that I went for adhesive dots is I wanted to be able to pull the wings up. I also think this could be a neat technique if you used some of the small 3D foam squares. You could also pull the wings up and the butterflies would have dimension, but I decided I didn't want the dimension in this attempt anyway. I may go back and try it again with the foam squares, but this was what I was going for, flat but wings that lift up, and with the adhesive dots being smack dab in the center of the butterfly's body, that made it easier to accomplish that. So now you can see I'm reaching the end. I've got everything all in there, and then now here's gonna come, wow, that was a terrible sentence, sorry. Here is the reveal. So I'm going to just slowly start to pull it up, and this is definitely a slow part. If you are looking at this, you can see I actually sped this part up. So very slow so that I don't rip any of them up, and I wanted them all to stay right where they were. But you can see that gradient really comes out, and the polka dots add an even more interesting feature to it. And look at that. Isn't that a unique design? And truly, it took me like maybe 15 minutes total. It was not long at all between the nicely dispensed adhesive dots and everything being cut out. It was really pretty quick. So definitely a technique I'll probably try and employ in other ways. Now I'm going to go ahead and build up the rest of my layout. So because there was some navy blue in this collection, which is a Chamel collection, I wanted to really make that navy blue pop. So I matted my picture there in the navy blue. And then I'm using just some of the different cardstock pieces as well as chipboard pieces from the kit to accent her picture. Now you can see I put on the word love there, and I put that on top of a speech bubble, and I added some little flowers. And then all the dots that you're seeing, I actually cut out of patterned paper in the collection. Now, because they were kind of uneven dots, I didn't really aim to be super precise with my fussy cutting and just kind of let it be what they were and not stress too much about that. So that creates a little bit of a more rough look, I guess, but that's okay. The butterflies are perfectly cut. There's lots of straight lines going on, and so I felt like that was kind of a compliment in the opposite direction to things that were already going on. Now you can also see that I added a border to the top and the bottom of the layout. What I did there is I used what was left over of that gradient paper and just put things at an angle. Because I had my heart shape already at an angle, I wanted to keep everything flowing in an angle. And so I added some of the gradient to the top corner, I added some of the gradient to the bottom corner, and then I used the little branding strips from the bottom of the patterned papers to offset those. And really, both of those, one was a navy blue, one was a dark turquoisey green color, so they both were darker bold colors and really I think help separate the white and the butterflies from the additional border. Overall, a nice compliment. So now the flowers that I'm adding, the pink ones there at the top and bottom, were actually from the Bella Boulevard part of this kit. So those were from a different collection, but they coordinated nicely and I knew I needed a little more. Now I am going to go ahead and add on some outlining, and I'm going to go around and I'm actually going to outline every single one of the butterflies with a navy blue fine tip pen. Now, this probably wasn't actually necessary. It's not very often that I say that about outlining, but it didn't make a huge difference. And I think you can see that if you rewind a little bit and look from the beginning until now, there's not a huge difference. I thought it might make things pop a little more, and I was trying to bring in more navy blue. I'm not sure it really made a difference. It was probably a little bit of a waste of time, but once I started, I needed to finish. Now you can also see I'm just outlining those dots, and I'm again not doing that in a very neat fashion, and outlining a few other little elements just to help bring about a little bit more separation in everything. Now, I did also pop up my picture using some crafty foam tape. You can actually see that off in the left-hand part of the screen, just to make her have some additional pop up from the butterflies. I wanted her to not get lost in everything, and crafty foam tape is perfect for that, as are the 3D foam squares. Now I'm adding on some additional rhinestones just to add a little bit more detail, and then finally I'm going to just pop all those wings up, and I'm actually not even going to pop up all of them. I'm going to pop up some of them. Again, I could do all of them. I just was looking for spreading the dimension out a little bit and not having it all dimensional. And I think overall that was a pretty good look. I didn't try popping all of them up, so I can't say for certain if I would have disliked that or not. But the end result of this was just a really unique, fun layout. Super fun collection from Chamel. Great kit. And then the very last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a little tiny cluster down here because I felt like the eye needed a little bit more of a visual triangle. And then I'm going to add on some mist, and that will be pretty much it. So I'm just adding some teeny tiny little details, the kind of thing that you do when you look at the layout and you're like, okay, this is good. Now what can I do to really finish it off strong? And so just adding a few little details to it, and then adding on some pink mist that will coordinate nicely with the pink that's in that gradient patterned paper. And I tried to zoom in and show you some of the mist splatters. I don't know if I did a great job with that or not. Okay, that's a little bit better. And you know, where it didn't splatter well, I just tap and actually touch the paper. So there you have it. Fun new layout of my little girl who's not so little anymore, looking quite grown up, and some fun products from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you again soon.